Hey folks, so I'm going to talk about pro wrestling for the next few minutes. So if pro wrestling is something you don't care about, feel free to not watch this one. No hard feelings on my part. And also, I'm not going to talk about the Vince McMahon thing because I know that Vince McMahon retiring from WWE is the big story in wrestling right now. And of course, I understand why it's such a big deal that Vince McMahon would decide to retire completely coincidentally, having nothing to do with the ongoing investigations into his numerous instances of misconduct being investigated by his own company's board of directors. I'm sure it has nothing to do with that. Just purely by coincidence, he decided that this would be a good time to retire finally. I'm not going to talk about that because I haven't really watched WWE regularly for almost 6 years now. So even though I know it's a big deal to the industry, the retirement of Vince McMahon doesn't really feel like that big of a deal to me. So on that subject, I will just say what I often say when the subject of Vince McMahon comes up, which is fuck Vince McMahon. What I really want to talk about right now is Ric Flair's last match. Now, as I record this, Ric Flair's last match is set to take place about a week from now. I'm recording this on Saturday the 23rd, and Flair's last match is scheduled to be Sunday the 31st of July. And last week, they finally announced what Ric Flair's actual last match is going to be. It's going to be a tag team match where the team of Ric Flair and Andrade El Idolo will take on the duo of Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett. That's going to be Ric Flair's last match. And you could not pay me to watch this show. I think it's one of the most cynical and exploitative shows I have seen in pro wrestling in many years, and that covers some ground. So I have no intention of buying this pay-per-view or watching this match or the rest of the card. I think it's hideous, and I think everybody involved in it should be embarrassed and ashamed of themselves for taking part in this farce. But out of curiosity, I did watch the YouTube video where they announced the match, and they showed the angle that they shot to set up the match. And the way they did it was a couple weeks ago, they had a press conference where they talked about the show and they announced some of the matches, but they didn't announce what the actual main event would be where Ric Flair was going to wrestle. But a couple days ago on their YouTube channel, they did they showed a video that they had shot ostensibly that took place right after the press conference where people were leaving the building and going home after the press conference. And this was the angle to set up the match. And what happened was Ric Flair is walking out to the parking lot after the press conference, and he's met in the parking lot by Jay Lethal, who is a guy who's been around for a while. I think he's maybe a little younger than me, but he's a veteran wrestler, and he's terrific. He's a fantastic wrestler, and he and Ric Flair had been kind of training together, sort of sparring in the last few months to get Ric back up to speed and back into shape to return to the ring. And the story that they're going with is that even though Jay Lethal helped Ric Flair to train and to get back in shape for his comeback, he wasn't booked on the show. Ric Flair had not made a match for his protege, for his friend, his training partner, Jay Lethal, to be on the show where his last match would be. So Jay Lethal confronts Ric Flair in the parking lot about this and is a little pissed off about it. And he's like, you know, how could you leave me out? How could you do this to me after I was helping you get back in shape? And he punches Ric Flair. He punches him in the stomach, his surgically repaired stomach, classic pro wrestling. And Ric Flair goes down, he doubles over. Lethal starts yelling at him, cutting a promo on him, kicking him, punching him, just, you know, wearing out old man Ric Flair for this disrespect that he's been shown, not being booked on the show. And then Jeff Jarrett, who attended the press conference and is also on his way out to the parking lot, he sees this, and at first he comes in and he intervenes and he pushes Jay Lethal off of Ric Flair. And he's like, Jay, stop it. No, leave him alone. And as Jeff Jarrett is helping Ric Flair and turning to Ric and trying to, you know, assist him back to his feet, Ric Flair pushes Jeff Jarrett away, the guy who just saved his ass. And he says, fuck you, Jarrett. I don't need help from you. So Jeff Jarrett, it seems to me quite understandably, decides, well, you know what? To hell with you, Flair. And Jarrett and Lethal then join forces, and they both kick the shit out of Ric Flair. And then they just leave him laying there in the parking lot. So I have two things to say about it. First of all, in terms of just like an old school pre-tape pro wrestling angle, I thought this was fantastic. It was really well done. It was better than anything like this that I have seen from a major wrestling company in years. I'm not saying it's better than anything I've ever seen, because I watch AEW regularly. I watch it every week, and I'm not going to say that it's better than like anything I've seen in AEW, but it's better than anything like this. Like, there have been promos I've seen in AEW that are better. There have been matches in AEW that I would say would be better than this little angle that they shot for Ric Flair's last match. But in terms of a thing like this, like a backstage attack or a parking lot brawl or something like that to set up a match or to further a rivalry between two factions or two wrestlers, this was better than anything like this that I think AEW has ever done. It was really, really well done. An excellently conceived and performed old school pro wrestling angle for a match that I still am not going to see because, like I said, the whole thing is incredibly cynical and just a horrible idea. But just purely for creative content, as an angle, as a thing like this, it was fantastic. Well done by everybody involved. But my question is, who's the babyface in this match? Because theoretically, it's Ric Flair, right? It's Ric Flair's last match. He's the old gunfighter coming back into town for one last fight, right? He's the veteran who's putting the boots back on one last time, right? It's his comeback. It's his chance to do it one last time and ride off into the sunset in glory, right? Theoretically, Ric Flair should be the babyface in this match. But the reason that the heels, the supposed heels, have a problem with him and want to fight him is one of them was snubbed and left off the show originally after helping Ric Flair train to get back in shape. And the other is a guy who came to help Ric Flair when he was getting beaten up by the first guy, and Flair pushed him off and told him to go fuck himself. So how is Ric Flair the babyface here? What reason do I have to root for Ric Flair when he was a complete dick to both of the heels who were fighting him in the match? And I mean, this is nothing new in pro wrestling. If you go back through the history of pro wrestling, there are lots of examples you can find where the supposed babyface is actually the heel if you judge them by normal human standards. The reason that the heels are mad at the babyface is because the babyface was a complete asshole to them for no reason, and they have a legitimate gripe. Anybody in their situation would be pissed off with the supposed babyface. This happened in Hulk Hogan's career all the time. Almost all of Hulk Hogan's major feuds when he was the WWF champion in the 80s and early 90s are an example of the heel being pissed at Hogan because Hogan was acting like a dick and treating them like shit or ignoring them or taking them for granted or acting like a big shot and making them feel small or whatever. Hogan acting like the heel, but being presented as the babyface and the fans expected to cheer him as the babyface, which we always did. So, I mean, it worked. I guess you can't argue with results, but if you look at it and break it down in terms of storytelling and characterization, it makes no sense at all. Why should we cheer for this asshole who treated the guys he's fighting like shit and deserves to get his ass kicked? Ric Flair deserved that thing that happened to him in the parking lot. I'm completely on Jay Lethal's side. That's the story. If we go by that's the story, Jay Lethal has every right to be pissed off at Ric Flair. And so does Jeff Jarrett. Jeff Jarrett put himself in between Jay Lethal and Ric Flair and was breaking them up and was saying, Jay, stop it, Jay, stop it, stop. Don't hurt him, stop attacking Ric Flair. And then he bends over to help Flair up, and Flair says, fuck you, Jarrett, I don't need your help. So why shouldn't Jeff beat the shit out of him for that? You ungrateful old bastard. You broken down 70-something-year-old piece of shit. I came out here and I was trying to help you. I was saving your ass from this guy half your age who was beating the hell out of you, and you tell me to go fuck myself? Fuck you. Who's the babyface? And I guess it's just one of those things about wrestling. It's one of those quirks that longtime fans acknowledge and kind of laugh at, but it does make me laugh and make me roll my eyes a bit that as good of an angle as it was and as well produced and as well performed as it was by everybody, the logic of it going into the match makes no sense. If the goal of this angle was to make me root for Ric Flair and want to see Ric Flair get back at Jarrett and Jay, it didn't work because I don't want to see that. Because I think Rick had it coming. I don't want to see Rick get back at him. He deserved everything he got. Fuck Ric Flair. And it's just puzzling and a little amusing, I guess, that even for his last match, his big comeback where he's going to have one last match to go out on top, they couldn't come up with a plausible way for 70-something-year-old Ric Flair, who you would think would be super easy to babyface, at least in the eyes of wrestling fans who are already kind of preconditioned to cheer for Ric Flair anyway. The ones who don't care about what a piece of shit he is in real life, because, by the way, Ric Flair in real life, huge fucking piece of shit. But if you don't care about that and you're just attracted to his wrestling persona and you want to see Ric Flair, the legendary champion, come back for one last match, you would think it's super easy to find a reason to book this match, to find some kind of storyline to lead into this match where he would be presented unambiguously as the babyface. And they just apparently couldn't come up with anything. And they went with, oh, let's have the heels be mad at Rick because Rick was treating them like shit. Let's go Flair. Anyway, cool angle. Still not buying the pay-per-view. Still not interested in the match, but at least it was a good angle. Anyway, that's it.